time for the stupidest name ever. It's the Tittle Tattle with Kickoff Kevin.
All right, Kevin.
With the official release this week, where do you think the best landing spot is for quarterback Derek Carr?
I'm going to tell you what I like about this Derek Carr situation is from everything I know about Derek Carr, and I do have a couple friends that know Derek Carr, he's a great dude. They love him. He's like A+, nice guy, good guy. And the fact that he's sticking it to the Raiders, it's hilarious. Because they were like, hey, we're going to trade you. How about the Saints? We got the Saints. I don't want to be traded anywhere. No trade clause. I'm just going to be a free agent, which means they got nothing for him. So that tells me that he's upset with probably the coaching staff. Listen, we had heard a lot of rumors anyway that they weren't vibing. The McDaniels and Derek Carr were not kind of on the same page in a lot of ways, and he didn't even want him as a quarterback. And so now that Carr's got that opportunity, he's like, we're good. Suck it. Not in so many words. Don't quote him for that.
That's not what he said exactly.
But I think the Saints will be great for him. I think the Titans will be awesome for him.
That'd be cool.
I mean, selfishly, I'd love for him to play where we are. For the Titans, I do think he's an upgrade from Tannehill.
Yeah.
Just because, and Tannehill did some things that no really other Titans quarterback has been able to do as far as how far the Titans have gotten in the playoffs. I mean, what did McNair get them? To the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams.
Yes.
The Rams there. So it's been forever since. But with Tannehill, there is a ceiling that he's not going to throw consistently for 250. Carr had the worst defense, period, over like the past 5, 6, 7 years. He didn't have a chance with the Raiders. And I do think he's a top 20 quarterback, which is not saying a lot considering there's not 40 quarterbacks, but I do think he's a top 15 to 20 quarterback. Yeah. And I think the Saints will be great. I think the Titans will be great. I think anywhere that he has a shot with decent weapons and a decent defense, we'll finally get to see if he's as good as I think he is. So I'm going to go Titans. I think that will be awesome. That's very selfish. But the Saints also actually a place I could see him land too. What about you?
Selfishly, I want to see him go to the Saints just because he said, you can't trade me there, but I'm going to sign there.
That'd be so funny if he went there anyway. That'd be so funny, yeah.
But I think the Commanders would also be a good one because they have a good defense. They have McLaurin out a wide receiver, a couple weapons here and there. And if they can get a quarterback, I feel like they can maybe take that next leap.
I'm going to tell you this. Eddie and I had a talk with the coach of the Commanders,
Ron Rivera,
and we know what's happening over there. And I'm going to tell you, it ain't Derek Carr, and I'm going to leave it there.
We can't say anything about
it. We've had. Hey, we're very well connected, Coleman. In the way of we saw him standing in a room and we went and attacked him.
Yeah,
and he was so nice to us. And I just asked him. I was like, hey, what's up? What's happening with quarterback next year? He just started laying it out.
It was awesome, dude.
And I feel like I shouldn't say anything because I don't feel like that's an environment. It was at Pebble Beach because he was playing in the tournament, same one I was playing in. And I feel like that's kind of sacred ground where just two guys talking. But it ain't Derek Carr. Dang. But it would be good. I mean, that'd be a good spot for him too.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it there. Let's just say it rhymes with Ron Brady. All right, next question, Kevin.
Do you think Eric Bieniemy needs to leave Kansas City to prove himself head coaching worthy?
Probably at this point. I mean, he won a Super Bowl already. He'd been to the AFC Championship. Andy Reid gets so much credit, all the credit offensively. And I saw that he was talking, or a couple other teams wanted to talk to him as the OC, not as the head coach. So it's seeming that if somebody wanted him as a head coach, they would have already hired him as a head coach. So I think he kind of needs to go somewhere where he's going to get some credit for it. So my answer, the easy answer is yes for that, or he would already have been a head coach based on the knowledge that I have of the situation. But it's wild that he hasn't had that shot yet.
Right? There's something we don't know.
Absolutely.
I feel like.
I feel like that too, just generally in life with all things, but especially here.
True.
Yeah. Next one up.
That is true. After losing both coordinators this week, do you think the Eagles' run is a one and done?
No, I would compare it to. It's tough because it's not the same, but like, look, Alabama, they lose coordinators and they don't win national championships. They lose coordinators every year. He replaces some of the good coordinators. Like if Sirianni is the coach that people think he is, then I think he'll find other great coordinators. The best thing a head coach can do is put coordinators into head coaches. Because then other great coordinators want to come be the coordinator to get the next shot up at a head coach. It's an annoying cycle, but good teams have to deal with it in college and the NFL. Because if you win a lot, why do you win a lot? Well, the head coach ain't leaving. Is your offense great? Well, let's take your offensive coordinator. And on and on. So, no, I don't. I think the defense is mostly back. I think they're back. Most of those Eagles guys are coming back. So I think they're going to be legit again. And I think Jalen Hurts has shown that he's good regardless. Like, he balled out harder than anybody else, period, in the Super Bowl. They just didn't win.
Yeah.
Like, he balled out. I mean, he went hard. He set records. He threw. He ran.
Yeah.
He did it all with a hurt shoulder too.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk much about the hurt shoulder. I'd have faked it. I'd have faked it worse if I were him. Just same way I said about Mahomes. I'd have been limping the whole time, even if it wasn't hurting, just so that story would go down in history.
I love it.
So I think the Eagles are for real. I think they'll be for real next year too.
Okay, going to basketball for the first time. Do you think the addition of KD makes the Suns a favorite out in the West?
Yeah, and by far.
For sure.
I mean, KD is, I'll be selfish about the comparison. KD is Andy Roddick, where if LeBron didn't happen to be here right now, KD would be the best basketball player alive, and he would be that for 7 to 10 years. And I'd say the same thing about Andy and Federer, because there was a time before Nadal hit where Andy was just like, Federer was beating him in the final of whatever, over and over. And it was like, dang. Or Tiger and Phil. You know, Phil's number 2 forever.
Yeah.
Behind Tiger. And that's always the case. But KD is so freaking good. And we talk about, you can talk about these 7-footers that can also stretch, you know, a stretch 4, even a stretch 5. KD's the OG of that. I mean, you can go back and do some Moses Malone type stuff, but not really.
Yeah.
But KD's like he's 7 foot and he shoots like he's 6'2".
He can kill you all over the court.
But he's been doing it for so long that he doesn't even get put in that conversation sometimes. So yes, by far. I mean, Chris Paul had 19 assists the other night. Like just straight, like that team is I mean, Devin Booker scored like 40 and had no threes. They're already really good. Kevin Durant's going to make them great. It's going to be really cool to see. I like KD. Because he's a weirdo. I like anybody that's weird and does their own stuff because they want to do their own stuff. Even if I don't agree with their own stuff, like I like anybody who does that. And so, yeah, the Suns, they went to the championship last year.
Western Conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Play the Mavs.
Because the Bucks and the Celtics were in the East, right? I'm making sure I'm right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're there. They were already there, and now they're there. And if they don't win, that'd be wild. Then they're just done. But Durant's going to be there 2 more years, right? Isn't that a 3-year deal this year and 2 more?
I think 3 more.
Is it 3 more?
Yeah. I want to say through 25, 26.
I wonder if he's rich.
Oh, you know he is,
I'm just
dude. You
Eddie,
kidding me?
Eddie, I'm kidding.
I was like, are you
Eddie, I'm
serious?
kidding. All right, what else you got?
Do you think the similarity in style of play between Kyrie and Luka is a cause for concern for Mavs fans?
I'm going to say no, and here's why. Because they weren't getting anywhere with just Luka doing how Luka does. I would watch Luka play 2 games a week on Sunday ticket package. NBA packet, whatever the crap I have on Amazon that what is that called?
I don't know. Season something.
The NBA
Pass?
League Pass. And I watched Luka dominate, but when Luka's putting up 40, when Jalen Brunson was there, they could at least go, okay, Luka's going to still play and take off a little bit, but Brunson's going to be part of the offense. Brunson can also take over. Them not paying him and him going to the Knicks, that was a bad move, retrospect. They weren't going to go anything past maybe a round in the playoffs with Luka. With only Luka. And he is generational, but think of a generational player that's been so good and didn't have a great number 2. I mean, think about Curry. Yep. Jordan. Yep. LeBron when he won titles. Mostly except for Cleveland. And even then, kind of.
Kyrie 1 year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like kind of.
Yeah.
So even if they do conflict, you still got to give it a run. It's 1 season. They weren't going to do it this year. They have a shot. Now that they actually have a shakeup that could create a spark there. And surely Kyrie cannot be an idiot for 4 months.
You would think.
I mean, he plays with the ball a lot. He needs the ball a lot. He's a guy that plays with the ball, but so does Luka.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. But I'm going to say it shouldn't cause concern. It should actually cause excitement because even if they flare out, okay, at least they tried something. And with that team, you just want them to try something. What do you think about that, Coleman?
Yeah, I feel like that's Cuban's mentality, which I respect. You know, I mean, that's a controversial guy in terms of, you know, Kyrie hasn't had commitment, it seems like, to a team in quite some time. So definitely could have made a trade that, you know, doesn't pan out. But I get it when you say, hey, we don't have the talent around Luka to win a championship. Kyrie gives us that potential. I respect Cuban for taking the risk.
Because otherwise, what are they going to do this season? Win a round? That's probably the ceiling. Now I think the ceiling is Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. Western
Conference Finals. I don't think they can get to the NBA Finals, but maybe Kyrie signs for another couple years. I just wouldn't want Kyrie.
And then he
on
leaves
my,
in a year.
I just wouldn't want Kyrie on my team,
Me neither.
just in general. All right, what else you got?
Sitting atop of the East for the majority of the season, is it inevitable that a Bucks and Celtics Eastern Conference championship is going to happen.
I don't know. Coleman, you go for it. What do you think about Bucks and Celtics? Is that in the East? Is that I'm going to go no as my answer, but I'll tell you why. But Coleman, you go first. Is that inevitable?
I don't think it's inevitable. I'm not going to go out on that, bold claim and say it's inevitable, but I do think that's what will happen. I know that's taking favorites, but God, the Celtics look so solid right now. Tatum has just continued to improve and emerge. And then the Bucks with Giannis, it seems like they might just run the East for a little bit with as dominant as he can be.
I think that, and I agree, and Tatum is now level A+ tier. Like this season has been the season where he is now in that Luka, Giannis, in that category. It's crazy to see because we've seen him come up very young and kind of elevate to that slowly. It's kind of been a maturation, which we don't always get to see that. And then make the finals, and he wasn't quite there. It wasn't quite there last year. Like at times he was, but he's killing everybody this season. Anytime I watch him, he's just dominating. The only team that I saw that Love wants out with the Cavs because he's not in the rotation. So it's like, hey, would you guys let me go? So I think they're gonna buy him out. So Kevin Love will leave there. But I think Cleveland and the Sixers both have those outside shots just based off talent alone that they can catch fire. We forget about stars at times because of headlines of other stars, but Joel Embiid, I mean, so legit. If he's healthy, he's as good or better than just about everybody except for maybe Giannis. And even then, he could outplay him 3 games of 7. And Harden, I mean, if he's not fat. What else you got?
Going to NCAA here. After losing 2 games in a row, did Tennessee prove they're still a legit contender when they beat Alabama?
So I watched almost the whole game. Alabama is so good, and we talked about this, where Alabama, if they're not hitting outside, it's tough for them to win. And they were playing in Tennessee, which is a tough place to play. I've been there many times watching games. Most of the time we lose. We go to Tennessee. Tennessee's also really good. Tennessee's also always really good in season. Barnes, though, chokes on a walnut when it comes to postseason, which is crazy to me. He did it everywhere. He did it at Texas. He does it at Tennessee. Tennessee's good in, Vaccaro, or whatever his name is this year. He's changed how to say his name. Tennessee's good. I think that they are a contender in winning the SEC tournament. I think they don't have really the horses to win the whole thing, but I do think they can win the SEC tournament. I think Alabama is still the team to beat, but it was good. I mean, they were up by 6-7 points with 45 seconds to go last night. For a second, Alabama pushed, and I thought Alabama was going to make a run because they always make a run. I watched Alabama and Auburn a couple days prior, and that's what they did. They were tied with 4 minutes left. And I got on my app, and I was like, let's go. It was Auburn +4 when they were tied. And I was like, $50 on Auburn +4. Alabama won by 12. And I was like, mother, so stupid they even turned it on. But yes, Tennessee is good. They can win the SEC tournament, but Alabama is still the team. What do you think about that, Coleman?
Yeah, I don't think Tennessee's a national title contender because I'm not falling for what you've mentioned, Bobby, just the Rick Barnes stuff every single year. They're a first weekend exit year after year, no matter if they're a 2 seed, 3 seed, they seem to always bow out early. And although they are elite defensively, that's always their calling card. I worry that they struggle to score enough points when it matters. And I don't think they're a true national title contender because of that.
Final question, Kevin.
As the consensus #1 conference when it comes to depth, do you think, or would you rather take the Big 12 or the field if the tournament started today?
So I can take either. It's just conference-wise.
Any Big 12 team.
Okay, so we're talking Kansas, Texas, Baylor, basically Iowa State.
TCU's in there.
TCU,
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about teams that I would actually think could do some damage. Out of the Big 12, Coleman, let's talk about this together. Who do you think can make the Sweet 16 out of the Big 12 of all those schools?
Well, see, to fully answer the question, I mean, I think that there are 4 or 5 Big 12 teams that will make the Sweet 16. I wouldn't be surprised at all if none of them make the Final Four. I think in the Big 12, we've got a bunch of good teams, a bunch of really good teams. I don't think there's a single great team. If I had to pick one, I think it's Baylor. Getting Chamwa Chichua back healthy is huge for them, specifically their defense. They're great offensively. If they can start to turn the corner defensively, I think they're the Big 12's best chance. But I think the Big 12 is a bunch of good teams, no great teams.
I think that I would take the field as well. I've watched Kansas. I've watched Kansas play enough. I watched them get beat by Kansas State. I've watched them again. They don't even eye test dominance. They eye test well coached and winning games because they're in the right place at the right time with good shooters, fundamental basketball. But athletically, and Coleman, you can tell me if I'm wrong, they don't look like a Texas or a Kansas team. Texas is so much more athletic than Kansas is. Like when I watch that, and Texas gets a little sloppy, and obviously the Beard's out. The assistant coach is now the head coach, the interim. Texas looks like athletes.
Yeah,
like
so
I feel like
talented.
Texas can beat anybody at any time, but they're not going to win 3 games in a row like that. So I agree. I think Kansas, Texas, and Baylor are probably the 3 teams out of that conference, and Baylor's probably, if I had to bet, the one. But I wouldn't take the Big 12 over the field.